Hey, hi, hello, I'm Bushwookie and welcome to my channel. We're taking off, going into our next episode of Kentucky Route Zero. We had just left a gas station alongside a river, and we are continuing down the same river on our little journey on the old Mammoth. See that small brick building? It used to be an upholstery shop. Now it's inhabited by a very skilled taxidermist whose art is greatly in demand. When it was an upholstery shop, it didn't see nearly as much business. The old shop's name has been lost to time and weather. This was decades ago. The only trace of it now is the grade frame of an old sign behind the new lettering, which now reads Trapper, Stalker, and Sportsman. And then below, smaller, no specimen is too exotic, no arrangement too fanciful. Some of the upholstery equipment is still there too and still sees active use. Elise is the resident artist, though she's not the owner of the shop. It's owned by a reclusive ex-convict named Judah. Very little is known about him. His crime is generally assumed to be violent or otherwise gruesome in some detail, though of course that's all speculation and probably comes from his association with taxidermy business, even though he never so much as skins a squirrel. He's more like a silent partner. I guess those are the ones you're supposed to keep an eye on. But Judah is old and keeps to himself, and the consensus seems to be that he's paid his debt to society, whatever that debt may have been. Sorry. Shannon returned to the TV room to browse the Mammoth's video collection. Eject. The shelves are full of dusty tape. Some have been relabeled several times, the stickers piling up thick on their spines. Birds, funeral thing, weather. Funeral thing. An elderly couple sit on folding chairs in the middle of a TV studio, undecorated except for a funeral lily in a thin blue vase on the table. The lights are a bit too dim to make out their features. She reads from a newspaper with unhurried efficiency. Gloria B. of Munfordville passed away on Monday at her residence. Survivors include her children Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, and Bobby, all of Munderville. A memorial service will be held at 7 p.m. Thursday at Hatton Huffman Funeral Home in Munderville, with cremation to follow. She never knew Gloria. He thinks he may have heard the name, wondering aloud if she ever worked at a cafe down there in Munfordville. The woman who ran that place was once called Gloria, or maybe still is. They take a call, someone who knew Gloria B., if not very well. The caller once installed a satellite dish at Gloria's house, a 900 square foot ranch-style home on 2 acres at a dead end backed by weeds and pine. When the caller mounted the ladder up to Gloria's roof, she slid open her window and tugged urgently at his pant leg. He followed her gaze behind the house to 2 wild turkeys picking through weeds. Gloria and the caller watched, silent and still, as the huge birds foraged obliviously into the trees. Then he installed the satellite dish. Sad. I guess the question marks? That awful hum. It seems to start before Shannon even hits play. Then there's the familiar room. There are the blank gray walls marked with tape and school desks, and this time she notices a few more details. The murky carpet, still standing water, some video equipment stashed in the corner, a row of lockers, and there's Weaver, looking serenely at the camera. As before, she starts speaking, and as before, there's no sound but that hum. Shannon finds Weaver's words coming back to her as they appear in captions on the screen. Mail, school, and these magnificent tragic horses. Go underground as deep as you can go. The air is cool and the earth is damp, and when you close your eyes, you are surrounded by the dead. Remember where that is? You'll find your way from there. I think this place is what you're looking for. Some of it will wash away soon, but I think you'll be happy here. even without the male school. The text repeats for a few minutes and Shannon stops the tape. No, it was only a few notes, slow and sad like funeral music, you know? I don't remember it being sad, just simple and unburdened. Maybe that's what funeral music sounds like to me, unburdened. Oh, hello, Kate and I were just trying to remember the Mammoth song. But neither of us have heard it for years. Will just found the mechanism. In the mammoth's belly, hidden in gritty, matted fur. Ha! It's like a big music box, a slowly spinning cylinder covered in metal pins that pluck her dulcet guts and pump the bellows in her bowels. But some of the pins are rusted and worn away, easy to replace if we can ever remember what the notes were. Did I hear you browsing the archive next door? Find anything good? Where did all those tapes come from? People just left them on board, passengers, I mean. They used to all be movies and that kind of stuff. I like nature documentaries especially. Some people left home movies or little art videos they've made. But that damn VCR devours anything you leave in it. Oops. It just switches into record mode at random, I think, and picks up whatever's coming in over the antenna. Of course, the only station we get down here is that WEVP, community television, you know? They've got that show with the gentleman playing banjo in his birthday suit. I'm sure you've seen it. Oh, yes. And if there's no tape in the machine when it tries to start recording, it makes this awful sound, like putting a squeaky toy in a food processor. I can hear it above deck. Awful. That's why I put the sign up, please do not rewind after watching. At least that way nothing gets taped over anymore. Where is the station, WEVP? I don't know. Will? I don't know. I guess I never thought of it. It must be nearby, right? It is community television. Dashiell would know. Yes. You should meet Dashiell. He did a lot of volunteer work for WEVP in the early days, wiring up antennas and relays, stuff like that. I think you two would have a lot to talk about. He works at the telephone exchange. No, I'm afraid he's been let go. Oh yeah? That's odd. He still takes the ferry to work every day. I'm sure he's at the telephone exchange right now, in fact. I dropped in there a few hours ago. We're stopping at the telephone exchange again shortly to deliver their mail and pick up their trash. You should go ashore when we do. Ask for the Dashiell. Okay. I rarely miss a chance to lounge on the beach around Rum Colony, and I do enjoy a drink, though I don't find their signature liquor suits me. But this time I elected to stay aboard and shoot the breeze with Kate over some mineral water. Still, I heard reports. I heard the old man went a little deeper in his cups. Not at all surprising. He seemed to have some momentum, and Patch mixes up some pretty good magnetic drinks. Oh, if we're talking about Rum Colony, I should tell you about Patch. He's the bartender, general manager, creative director. I guess that means he books the music. He's pretty much run the place for the last 7 years. A lot of folks assume he owns it, but that is not the case. The Rum Colony is owned by a dead man named Vernon. Technically, it would be owned by the power company who once bought a sizable interest from Vernon as a part of a state-sponsored investment program. But a clause in the arrangement requires them to keep their hands off the day-to-day and most of the profits so long as Vernon walks this earth. The upshot of all this is that nobody came forth to identify the body. Patch is a good guy, though. Kind, trustworthy, and he mixes a strong Mai Tai, if that's what your thing. I guess we're gonna be here for a minute. Looks like they have a few calls to make. I should probably call someone, too. Oh yeah? Who are you calling? I don't know, just whoever picks up. Oh, okay. Dialing blind. You could ruffle some feathers like that, kid, especially this late at night. What would you say to a stranger you can't even see? I don't say anything, I just listen. Huh, okay. I guess you mean well. Well, guess I'll head back aboard. Might see if I can find any of the good stuff stashed in the... Maybe in the spice cabinet? Maybe in the medicine cabinet? Haha, that's where it belongs. Well, hell, who am I... talking to. Don't listen to me, kid. I'll see you in a few. You have 23 new messages. I remember going to a house in Aroostook County, Maine. I was 2. We were moving. We were driving up in a white Nissan station wagon with faux wood paneling. It was the first time I had seen the house that I was going to live in for the next 7 years. Listens to the next message. Being washed in the bathroom sink. Listens to the next message. I was just parking my car. I had the parallel park it. The street that I live on was full. It just got cold today for the first time in a long time, so I had the heat on, and whenever you have the heat on in an old car, it definitely smells a certain way. It smells kind of like you can smell that it's hot. You can feel it too. With the windows down, you can smell that it's cold, so you get both. The feeling together is super familiar if you've been in old cars a lot. Anyway, I was parking and I had to go in and out about it like 3 times, but when I finally finished parking, it was perfect. Both wheels against the curb. And that's when I had the double memory of when I first learned how to drive. And my mom taught me how to parallel park, and she told me this story about when her dad, who was a motorcycle cop, taught her how to parallel park. Every time she parallel parked, he would take out a dime, and if he could fit the dime between the wheel and her car, the curve of the street, she had to do it again. Damn. She didn't do that for me, but every time that I got upset about having to do it again, she would tell me that at least I didn't have to be a dime's distance away from the curb. I learned how to drive in the fall, and I got that smell a lot during that time. I don't know when my mom learned to drive. Hang up. Don't you go diving in too. It's actually really cold and kind of dangerous. Did he say where he was going? He went to get some medicine. Oh, maybe his leg is still bothering him, or an early hangover. I'll have to tell him I have some more painkillers in the truck. So, any important messages? Every single one. Where are you headed tonight, small man? I'm just following my friends. Is this young woman your friend? We met Ezra earlier tonight, and he's been very helpful. I'm hoping we can return the favor once we get back above ground. Poor kid was sleeping at the bus station and just lost track of his folks. He'll be all right. He's more at home down here than any of us. Trust me, I have an eye for it. Kate, thanks for calling. I hope I didn't wake you up. No, I can't really get comfortable enough to sleep anymore, except in the car. Oh, not driving. In the passenger seat, reclined. Eric drove me around the reservoir this afternoon and I got an hour or 2 in. I couldn't get settled in bed, so I was just watching TV, some cooking show about high-concept junk food, and everyone from my high school chemistry class was there, making cupcakes out of old bicycle parts. What? I think I might have dozed off a bit, actually. Honestly, this baby can come out whenever he wants. I'm completely over it. Don't rush it. Just try to get some rest. That's what Eric says. I guess it'll happen when it happens. I mean, obviously it... The phone line makes a horrible sound. Whoa, God, the phones down here are such a mess. Hey, Kate, I really appreciate you checking in. I have your pager number, and so does Eric, just in case I'm too, distracted or whatever. I'll let you go. I should try to eat something. Munch on a bitter hedgehog cap. That should relieve some of your intestinal discomfort. Okay, thanks. Maybe I'll just chew on some ice. Talk to you soon, Kate. Hopefully. Just checking in on a client. Did I mention I'm a birth doula? That's like a nurse, right? Well, no, I don't have any formal medical training or licensing, just a lot of experience. I think most women who hire me mainly want someone in the delivery room who doesn't treat childbirth like some kind of disease to be cured. I mean, no hard feelings against doctors, but they have their own process and it can be pretty alienating sometimes. Is everything okay? Everything is great. Sounds like she's ready. Some women just know. It's amazing. Others are caught totally by surprise. Your friend went back aboard? His leg is bothering him. Yeah, I thought he seemed a little pained, especially when he moved. I'm glad you phoned. I was just thinking of you. Sorry I didn't call this week. I've been traveling constantly. You're sitting by the phone waiting for my call? That's so nice. I was eating an early lunch, actually, and my mind was wandering. I visited the hospital yesterday. I went to visit Uncle Andreas, but they moved him. Now he is in a hospice care facility run by some old Polish nun. Everyone says it's very nice. I asked them about visiting, and they said he didn't want any visitors. He's just being stubborn. Yes, it's typical of Andreas. I was thinking maybe if you came to visit, he would see you. All those afternoons you two would go drinking beers by the river, don't you think it would mean a lot to him if he could say goodbye to you in person? Oh, Nadia, I'd never make it back in time anyway. It's true, you're a long way from home, Clara. I suppose it can't be helped. Oh, here's Mother at the door. We're going to try again to see him. I hope the tour is going well. Love you. Be careful. My sister back home, she's very depressing to me this morning. My uncle Andreas is terminally ill and refusing visitors, and Nadia is making a stir about it. I'm sorry to hear. Are you close? Yes, but only recently. He lived abroad for most of my life. I only met him a few years ago. My sister is older, so she knew him as a child, too. So I think her respect for him is distorted by sentiment. We must always take the dying at their word. Their motivations are beyond our understanding. The older man, he's swimming back to the mammoth? No emergency, I hope. He's tending to his aching joints. Arthritis? It runs in my family, too. I don't suppose any of you folks are headed back past the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces. Not on this run, but we'll be coming back this way in a few hours. Well, I may still be here then. It's no big deal. I'll just hang out and read or something until it's time to head back to work. Hey, you folks are traveling with that old guy, right? With the leg, is he okay? I saw him earlier tonight. He came by the storage facility for some files. He totally bit it on the staircase. He's okay though, right? Oh, okay. I think that's the janitor guy from the storage facility that runs the sermons and stuff now that the congregation doesn't come anymore. I think so. I don't know him too well. He's a passenger. Cool. Hey, I guess he's well enough to swim. Well, have a good night, or morning almost. That right there is Ratliff Monuments. If you ever need a headstone carved for a loved one, I mean. Violet Ratliff, never married, nevertheless bore 6 children. Earl, Kelly, Barb, Ron, young Earl, and Beauty. And for each birth, she locked the doors of Ratliff Monuments for only one day, even with young Earl, when she was in labor for 36 hours. Well, that's what folks said, and I met her, and I believed them. She had the unyielding disposition of a cliffside. None of Violet's children had any desire to go into monument making. Beauty thought it was a bit ghoulish. There's some truth to that. Very little demand for monuments to the living, after all. The run of the shop fell at least to young Earl, the only Ratliff still at the home when his mother finally passed at 82, and who then had the honor of engraving her headstone. He's done well for the most part. His craftsmanship has suffered over time. It's his hands, cut and bruised by missing strokes, shaken apart from the inside too. He learned from Violet when striking a block of stone with a mallet and chisel to absorb the extra shock right into his bones so as to keep the apparatus straight and carve a perfect line. He spends his time outside of work just caring for his hands, soaking his bones in salt water, doing little exercises and stretches. It won't improve the straightness of his marks, but it might put off the days he finds himself unable to carve a line at all. Scribbling on rocks like his ancestors, that's the day that he has nightmares about. He dreads it like death, though he makes no distinction between the two. Ezra taught us a card game. Clara draws a card. 3 deep breaths, 8 white doves, 5 slow hours. Seven blue petals, 3 deep breaths, 8 white doves, 5 slow hours. What are we listening to? Oh, just this tape a friend of mine sent me. They live in the desert. Vasinks? Something like that? Sounds good on the Mammoth's PA. Yeah, that's the only way I listen to anything lately, haha. Your turn, buddy. Nine gray feathers, 7 blue petals, 3 deep breaths, 8 white doves, 5 slow hours. 9 gray feathers. Stay focused, haha. No, I've got it. 7 blue petals and 5. Oh no, it was 9, 7, 3. This game is more difficult than it sounds, my friend. You still did pretty good. And we're only, how many cards in now? 5 or something? I assume it will go to 52. Yeah, it's the whole deck. So in some cases, there may be a stalemate. Though not with this crowd, I don't think. We're all too soggy-brained. I know I am. I even take homemade supplements for it. Shade-grown lichen boiled with the peel of a lemon, then frozen and crushed with oak leaves. It's a scalp massage oil. You can smell it if I get close. It dries the brain out a bit, which is helpful for a good memory if I can remember to use it often enough in the first place. Oh, don't worry, the soggy brains has benefits too. If your brain is soft and damp, new ideas can make a clear impression, like a boot in wet sand. But like wet sand, it can easily be muddled and washed away, so there's a trade-off, see? It's a shame that we can't have it both ways, isn't it? What's this game called, Ezra? Remembering game. Passengers the opportunity to make some floating around money. And that lab pays cash in small envelopes upon completion of their little gauntlet of non-invasive tests. It's a project of the university. I think they're studying... I don't remember. Excuse me. The Mammoth also collects their trash, mostly shredded paper, though Kate says once they left a vending machine on the dock. But nobody seemed too interested in the lab spot that night. They stayed aboard and played a card game. I read a book. Let me tell you about it. Small town in the Pacific Northwest. The town is never named, but it's colorfully described. Woolly fog, broken coastline, provincial shopkeepers. The main characters are mail carriers. Their co-workers, Mimi and Jen. Mimi is older than Jen, but they seem to be at the same point in their lives. They like their work. They have a playfully antagonistic relationship with their boss. I actually only read a bit from the middle. Mimi confides in a friend about a traumatic event in her past. I don't know what the event was exactly. I guess I would know if I had started at the beginning like the writer probably meant me to, but I've never found that way of reading suited me very well. Death of a loved one, I think, something like that. In my life's work as the Echo River's premier anecdotal list, I've always found that a carefully excerpted moment is more powerful than any epic story. That's my excuse, anyway, for reading books from the inside out. So I stopped there. My eyelids were getting heavy, we were headed back to the lake, and a chance encounter with the Iron Pariah. She lit a second cigarette with the embers of the first one. She trembled. Oops. But she was following directions. No smoking within 25 feet of the hospital entrance, so she stood by a hot dog cart parked at the edge of the sidewalk. Kate gently rolls a fallen branch and plucks something white from the underside. She holds it up for Ezra to examine. Plurosibella porogens, the common name is angel wings. Isn't that pleasant? They have a delicate springy texture and they're tasty like sweet moss. Would you like a bite? Okay. Ezra takes a small bite and ruminates. What do you think? I think I got a bug. Oh, lucky you. I'm kidding. You can spit it out if you want. My mushroom hunting mentor told me it's useless to pretend to know mushrooms. They escape your erudition. The more you know them, the less sure you feel about identifying them. She taps the cover of the small red book she's carrying. That's why I always bring my favorite guidebook. Kate points to a small mushroom growing in the dirt. Oh, here's an important one to recognize, though. Look, see the sort of greenish pallor of the cap? Amanita phalloides. That's Greek. Amanita means mushroom and phalloides means, never mind. It smells like honey. Yeah, sort of nauseating though, right? Sickly sweet. Death cap, that's the common name. It's killed a lot of people, this little mushroom, including a few Roman emperors. It's a revolutionary, haha. Even the Buddha died from eating a mushroom when he was very old. That's just what they do. Clear away old things, make room for new things. Pretty important, right? I've always thought they deserved a little more respect. Would you like to help me look for a few more? I have sort of a shopping list. Great, actually just grab any mushrooms that catch your eye and throw them in this bag. Let me know when you're done and we'll see what we got. Have fun, that's the second rule of mushroom hunting. The first rule is ask Kate before eating anything, okay? Okay, investigates rotting stump, pokes around the base of a cypress tree, checks out a plastic bag washed up on the island. The bag is ragged and waterlogged. He nudges it with a stick, coiling up a plastic thread and spreading it out on the beach. He didn't like to play in the house, that it was always too cold. It seemed to store up the cold at night, then slowly discharge it into his bones during the day, while the sun bounced feebly off the windows. But he liked to play in the woods behind the house. He'd taken a knife from the kitchen, selected for its long serrated edge, meant for slicing bread. Its teeth had reminded him of a saw blade. He was determined to collect some firewood to heat the house. There are no mushrooms in the bag. Investigates a rotting stump. The stump is ringed with overlapping shelves of mushrooms, striped brown, blue, gray, white. A caterpillar crawls alongside one of them. He didn't have any friends nearby. None of their new neighbors seemed to have children his age, so he played alone in the woods, alone except for the deer. Inspects the mushrooms. Smells spicy, sweet, mild, like how Ezra had expected his father's tobacco to taste when he hastily chewed and swallowed a noxious fistful. Ugh. Spent the afternoon retching it in secret. Yeah, you don't swallow it. Spit, I'm sorry. He heard someone calling his name, probably his mother, but her voice didn't sound right through the trees. He kept going. Tears off a piece of the mushroom and puts it in his bag. Ezra closes his eyes and listens to the water and the distant clicking of bats. Kneels in the grass. She parts the grass with her garden knife, studiously combing the ground. A hot dog vendor tried to strike up a conversation with some immediately too personal questions. She decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he considered it part of his job, she thought, to offer his customers some kind of counsel. Maybe it was to salve his guilty conscience for selling junk food outside of a hospital. There are no mushrooms in the grass. Kate tries to wipe some mud off her boots. Oh, you got one? Let's see it. He tripped on a protruding root and lay for a while in the mud, examining the pale upper branches of the sycamore tree, listening to the soft rumble of a faraway thunderstorm, then louder, closer, and his hair stood on end, and there was the bird. Ezra hands Kate the striped mushroom he took from the tree stump. Oh, great, this is called a turkey tail. Delicious and good for the immune system. You've got me beat. I didn't find a thing. So... what do your parents do? For work, I mean. My dad used to sell windows. People were building a lot of new houses, and they needed a lot of windows. But then they stopped building houses. My mom worked at a bakery and a bar. Sometimes she would see the same people in the morning and the evening. The bakery closed, and she doesn't work at the bar anymore. But she still goes there a lot to see her friends. Do you have a family? I left home when I was young, very young, not much older than you, actually. Years later, my mother got sick and I tried to visit her, but it was too late. She was all spaced out on fevers and morphine. I've basically been on my own since then. Well, that's not really true. Just about everyone who sets foot aboard the Monkey Mammoth feels like family to me now. I guess if nobody's family, then everybody's family. What is this island for? It looks like someone made it on purpose. Oh, right, it's kind of nice. Simple shape, pleasantly minimal island geometry. I'm sure it could be natural, though. I mean, I don't know if the island itself is man-made or not, but I guess I don't know much about this place, really. It's supposed to be some kind of memorial to something? Will would know more. Sorry, it's a mystery. Ezra kicks the dirt. Months later, she came across a book on homeopathic medicine in a used bookstore and bought it. She thought it was most likely bullshit, but found the author's notes on the unpredictability of mushrooms immediately compelling, spiritual even. She started collecting mushrooms on hikes, never eating them, but just collecting, identifying and discarding. Eventually she connected with the Lexington Mycological Society and began to study in earnest the medicinal uses of fungi. It's a mystery. I'll search for clues. She put out her cigarette and said goodbye to the hot dog vendor and spent the rest of the afternoon listening to doctors and trying to understand the world as they did, as a list of discrete injuries to be mended. Ezra examines a large stone monument. The monument is covered with lichen and painted text. reads the text. X plus 0 forever. Oh, probably X plus O. Investigates the cypress tree. The tree smells spicy, oily. Inspects the bark. A message is carved in the bark. Ozzy? O-Z-Y? Inspects the contents of his pockets. Alright, what have you got? That stone-faced monument has X plus O forever painted on it. Interesting. What do you think that means? Hugs and kisses forever? Or they could be initials, Xavier and Olivia forever. Xerxes and Oliver? What do you think that monument is for? I'm not sure anyone remembers. There's a lot of cats on this barge. Somebody carved O-Z-Y in the tree over there. Oh, huh. What do you think that means? It's part of somebody's name. Or it's short for something. Observe 0 yaks. Old Zebra Yard. Ornery Zoologist Yacht. I don't know what that means. Yeah, it was a stretch. Well, Ezra, I can't say I know what that all adds up to. Like I said, I wish Will were here. He'd have some local history for us. We can ask him back on the boat. Look up at an old battleship drifting by. Oh, there it is, the Iron Pariah. Don't worry, it's just passing by. I don't know much about it firsthand, but I've heard things. Supposedly there's nobody aboard, not people, I mean, there must be something on there. Life is everywhere. Rats, insects, some kind of hardy mold. Part of it could be flooded, and host to some of these eyeless fish that live in the echo. Hey, maybe there are some mushrooms growing in there, slowly consuming military rations from over 100 years ago. I've heard it was in the Civil War. I guess they had boats full of soldiers and supplies going up and down the Ohio River, and they fought on the river like boat to boat with cannons or something, I guess. Machine guns? I'm no military historian, as you can probably tell. Anyway, I guess this one just got lost and somehow ended up all the way down here. Maybe it slipped into a cave up north. They're all connected underground. There's another version of the story where it didn't get lost. It was full of deserters. They came down here to hide. Maybe that's why it's a pariah. More mysteries. They do pile up over time as people forget the details. Thanks for taking me mushroom picking. Mushroom hunting. You can pick apples because they're right out there in the open. Mushrooms hide. You have to hunt for them. What's going on? Oh. Dad said they were going to stay at the bus station for a while, the one with the little arcade with the card game you liked. Dad watched him closely in the rearview mirror, expecting Ezra to be excited or confused or scared, but he didn't feel anything. He hardly seemed to hear. In fact, he felt like he was observing the family car from a distance, from far above, from the clouds. See that rough circle of rocky protrusions near the shore? It's more intricate than it looks. More than 2/3 of it is actually underwater. I haven't seen it myself, but listen to this. It's man-made and the rocks weren't placed according to their size, so what's visible is more or less uniformly random selection of the overall shape. It looks like it might be a spiral all told, or maybe some kind of meditative labyrinth. At the head of it is a petrified oak stump. That was moved here from above ground, of course, decades ago. That's where the ceremony took place. The Locklocks were married here. Many frail-tongued observers said they should just go with lock or luck, or split the difference with look, or even lick, or really anything else, but it was never going to happen. They met in line at the DMV. Their driver's license photographs were mixed up by the clerk, a mistake they discovered immediately but never corrected. Their engagement was welcome news from the family of businesses who had been looking for some opportunity to merge interests. The Locks ran a busy printing press. The Locks managed a fleet of bicycle couriers. These were the Locks of Lock Large Animal Storage and the Lux of Luck Family Nut Company. Surely someone in some branch of those two great trees had elephant husbandry on the brain. This is all speculation. The ceremony itself was humble and perfunctory. It must have somehow involved these rocks. Maybe they walked around them in a spiral like a symbol of their ever-tightening bond. It must have also involved their petrified stump. Neither family is particularly religious, but rumors persist that the officiant wore a robe. Shannon and her friends set out in the dinghy to deliver a package at the telephone exchange. Thanks again for your help. This is about as far as the tugboat can go. You know, noise and lights disturb the bats. I usually send Will, but I thought you'd like the chance to meet Dashiell. He's the guy who worked at the TV station, WEVP. So you'll pass through the bat sanctuary, which is really nice, but by the way, be sure to check out all the plaques and stuff for, cool bat facts. Plenty of time. Anyway, the Echo River Central Exchange, or excuse me, Consolidated Auxiliary Switch number 30. They changed the name when the power company took over. Anyway, it's just on the other side of the bat sanctuary. This package is going to Poppy. She's an operator. The operator. We'll meet you on the other side at Sam and Ida's for our scheduled early breakfast stop. Just follow the river. Can't miss it. Oh, I almost forgot. You may or may not be interested. There's this kind of weird memorial sculpture on your way in, just before the bat sanctuary. I always recommend people at least stop and take a look at it. It's really sort of, I don't know how to say it. Just check it out. Okay, bye. Bye. Claim these helmets in the names of the folks who wore them and place them here in their memory, just also as a spit in the greedy green eye of that power company who bought up our old mine and traded our brothers, sisters, and safety for a little more yield, but only yielded 28 good men and women dead when the walls collapsed and the tunnels filled with water. Their lungs were black, but now they're washed clean and full of water too, and swept through the hidden tunnels into some awful cave we never will find. And so we guess the water buried them for us, so let this here be the marker for their grave. And if any son of a bitch from that power company wants to take back these helmets as company property, just you try it and see what will happen. Hey, Elkhorn, that's the mine we met in, where folks, worked. Looks like it's been here a while. I sure as hell wouldn't mess with it. You think whoever wrote it is still that angry? I don't think you ever forget anger like that. No, I guess you probably don't. This probably stirs up... I mean, how do you... It's fine. I'm glad this is here. People should remember this happened. Well, here we are remembering, and I didn't even know it the first time around, but here I am remembering it now. That's a fine memorial, I guess. just gonna wave at us? Okay. Creepy sons of bitches. What? You're looking at me like I'm crazy, haha. Just sometimes I forget I don't even really know you that well. Yeah, well, that makes two of us, you know? Those guys from the distillery are just making the best of a bad situation, just like the rest of us. Hey, one of them said to me earlier they could even help me take care of these medical bills for my leg, you know? Get it all together on a plan, consolidated. What? When did you talk to them about that? Oh, they're around. They're pretty much everywhere you look. On this river, you really haven't noticed? Anyway, I have a feeling it'll all work out. Even this delivery? Yeah, we're almost there, right? Hell, at this point, I bet we could just take off the parking brake and that truck would roll into Dogwood Drive by itself. Listen, that old truck I've been driving belonged to my boss, Ira, Lisette's husband. To be honest, Ira didn't like me very much, but somehow Liz got it into her mind that he would have wanted me to have that truck someday. Maybe to make up for all the yelling he did, or maybe so his ghost could hold it over me. Just one more thing to feel like I owed him for. Anyway, they got their own trucks at the distillery, and now that the antique shop is closing up, I've got no use for that old truck. I was thinking you could have it. I barely know you. Hell, I barely know anyone. It's not like I'm going to give this truck to my damn brother or something. I don't even know how to get a hold of him these days. Well, just think about it anyway. You'd be doing me a favor, you know? One less thing to deal with. Going now because he owes a bunch of money on medical bills for that. And, like, in a sense, now with his arm, with him going back to drinking and stuff, he's kind of, like, giving up, selling part of his soul almost for, like, his alcoholism. That's my theory on it. Alright. Sign. Visitors to the Echo River stern-faced black tomb bat artificial hibernaculum and sanctuary are asked to take extra precautions in order to prevent the introduction of foreign fungal contaminants and the spread of white nose syndrome. Please do not visit the sanctuary during the same day in which you've visited any cave known or suspected to host bats infected with white nose syndrome. Please do not leave your vehicle. If you must leave your vehicle, please remove shoes, clothes, jewelry, headwear, and eyeglasses to ensure you do not bring any foreign spores ashore with you. Please do not touch any bats or structures. The stern-faced black tomb bat is confused by light. If you are using a lantern or other artificial light source, be aware that it may attract and confuse bats. If you are approached by bats, do not panic, relax, stop your vehicle, and switch off your light. Never touch a bat. Bat fact. Ever talk with your mouth full? Bats do it all the time. Bats talk in extremely high frequency clicks, too high for humans to hear. Then they use their powerful ears to scan for the echoes of these ultrasonic clicks by comparing very subtle differences in the time these echoes take to come back. Differences of just millionths of a second, bats are able to picture their environment with enough accuracy to catch a flying insect. Once a bat has caught an insect in its mouth, it's still flying, so it still needs to avoid running into anything, so bats keep clicking away even while they munch on a tasty bug snack. It may be poor table manners, but it's crucial for surviving in the dark. I wonder how the other bats know whether one of them is really talking or just chasing a bug. Sometimes it's hard to know with people, too. Oh yeah, like, how about this weather? I guess there are layers to it, right? Sometimes you just need to get to the other person talking to you so you can check their body language or hear what their voice sounds like. Find out if they're friendly or angry or drunk, haha. Whew, I feel like he fell off the wagon hard. That's sad. The stern-faced black tomb bat's natural diet mostly consists of moths and other small insects that breed along the river. Here at the Artificial Hibernaculum and Sanctuary, we use a combination of chemical snares and ultrasonic wards to repel all potentially contaminant-bearing insects and replace them with our own locally bred and spawned hypoallergenic antiseptic pseudomoths, which we call the little gray nothing moth. You may be thinking that the other moths and insects the stern-faced black tomb bat would have been eating are very much relieved that their nocturnal predator have found another food source. Not so. We've installed netting and highly effective moth traps along the river where the stern-faced black tomb bat normally hunts to balance our escape from the food chain. But eating moths isn't the only systemic contribution these bats make. They also produce a potent fertilizer in the form of guano that helps plant life thrive along the Echo River, the shore of Lake Lep. In order to minimize the sanctuary's impact on subterranean agriculture, we collect that precious guano here at the Hibernaculum and manually distribute throughout the caves. It's a full-time job. Sounds like a lot of work. It's all fake except the bats. Yeah, I guess so. Reminds me of that guy Donald and his crew down there with the computer. Kind of bothers me, like they're tricking the bats. Yeah, in this case I think it's about survival. I mean, if that's the bottom line, what's the difference? Like the folks in the mine. You said they used to buy stuff, fans, canaries, and all those little trinkets to help make it bearable. There's still a lot of stuff down there. It feels cluttered but human. I just mean all people need is enough to pretend we're home, and we can make it anywhere. You get kind of philosophical when you're drinking. Did anyone ever tell you that? Yeah, I guess I do. Nah, this is nothing. I used to have this drinking buddy who would get bloated and tell the weirdest damn riddles, like, which is more musical, a truck passing by a factory or a truck passing by a musical school? Ha! Count your blessings. Somebody lost their umbrella. I've had my headset off this entire time. I didn't realize it. Oh, hi. I remember you. What are you doing down here? Do you know where the telephone exchange operator is? Singing, I don't know what that means. I'm just exploring. I like dark underground places. I'm a romantic. So am I think. Yeah, you'd have to be to hang out around here. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Careful up there. Can't drive your new truck if you slip and break your legs. I'm gonna be kind of bitchy. I think he's making some bad decisions since we started this journey. You too, try not to make any more bad deals while I'm gone. Haha, I'll just be floating along down here. I just mean keep your eyes open and don't look back. You, lady. Or man. Where is she? Okay. Sorry, I need to get it out of my system. Could be bypassed with another capacitor at 100 nanofarads to reduce noise. If your circuit's too noisy, you should tie those floating pins to ground. Huh, that's a pretty good idea. They're probably picking up all kinds of radio interference. Dastriel Morse, pleased to meet you. We don't install this type of phone for customers anymore, but there are quite a few of them still in circulation. Anyway, the new system doesn't source enough current to ring these old bells, so I'm trying to come up with a workaround. Maybe a little box the customer could attach right before the wall jack. I'm a bit of a circuit geek. Beep, 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 beep. I'm a bit of circus geek myself. I bet. You seem very comfortable with electronics. Is this your first time down here? Here, I can tell. Your eyes can't quite adjust to the light. It takes some practice. Believe it or not, I've been coming here since I was a kid for one reason or the next. Back then, this place was a train station. It's true, they had bats then, too, but they were considered a nuisance. A train station? What happened to it? Well, the river shifted and this place slowly filled with water, carrying the trains away with the current. It does that, the river, and I don't begrudge it. It's a good reminder that everything we have is borrowed, even trains. Eventually, someone at the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces heard this place was still empty, so they moved the phone company in here. I returned here as a young lineman, a skill I picked up in wartime, running telephone wires behind enemy lines. We used to use trees instead of poles. I miss that, actually. They were easier to climb. It's just as well. I'm in no shape to be climbing anything these days. The closest I get is patching up the wiring in the crystal room for the WEVP folks. Did you ever know a girl named Weaver? Sure, Weaver Marquez. That's funny, I was just thinking about her. Yeah, I met her a couple times at the TV station. I suppose I didn't know her too well. She handled the archives and I was helping with wiring and stuff. She really seemed to know her way around all that gear, though. She had a head for signals, I think. No idea where she ended up. I would guess she's probably not too popular around the station anymore, but I always liked her. Listen, miss, if you're interested in WEVP, you should go talk to them directly. They're always looking for volunteers. Take the ferry over to the silo, that's it. There's a mail shop there. They don't have a sign or anything, just ask around. I guess I'll get back to this damn old ringer. Poppy's just a little further down if you're dropping off that package. Nice chatting with you. Poppy! Just set it right over there by the lamp, sweetie. Thanks. Actually, just a minute. Who does that parcel claim to be from? That's weird. There's no label on it. Well, if we're lucky, it's chocolates from a secret admirer, not a snake from an assassin. So who are you? Do you work on for the post office or the tugboat? I only asked because I haven't seen you before. Was that you I heard chatting down the hall? Yeah, I just met Dashiell. He's been working on that obsolete ringer, hasn't he? Poor Dashiell. You know, he's not really... He was let go a while back. A long while, actually. When they started restructuring, he was one of the first to go. But he talked them into letting him come every day and fiddle with some interminable project. He says it's just to keep a long gap from growing in his resume, but I think he just has nothing better to do. One of those old men who needs work. You know? Doesn't know how to be any other way. Well, there are no real jobs here, but there are fake jobs, I guess. It wasn't always like this. When I came to work at the Echo River Central Exchange, there were 12 of us. Loretta, Edna, Meg, Kara, Mary, Louise, Liz, Hester, Angie, Wilma, Connie. I was number 12. Connie and I were hired on the same day, but she showed up early. Mary finished college and Hester was fired for snapping at a rude caller, but he had it coming. I hear she did just fine on her own, so they hired Beryl, Jana, and Sachiko, which brought us up to 13, and that was as many operators as we ever had here at one time. The power company came along, buying up all the lines, and one day they took the exchange as a throw-in, like it was nothing, and they started phasing us out. Edna, Meg, Kara, and Louise left one Friday evening and were asked not to come back on Monday morning. Beryl saw the writing on the wall and quickly found employment at a private PBX. They had Jana and Liz stop routing calls and write up some kind of best practices document instead. It was their final task as exchange employees. Some of the girls were reassigned to other divisions. Connie, I think, was checking residential meters. Chico and Wilma were moved into energy sales. cold calling businesses to see if they needed to upgrade their electricity plan. At least they were still on the phone. Then it was just Loretta, Angie, and me. We were swamped. The hours were hell and hard on the throat. The voice with a smile became a croak. I was gargling warm salt water in the break room, sipping from a thermos full of hot honey broth stashed under my chair. Oh, I brought a lot of extended technique to the switchboard in those days. Sounded pretty good to me. Yeah, I'm impressed. He's got the voltage too high. I'll burn out the relay. So, where was I? Extended switchboard technique. It was all about timing your breath. Some girls got lightheaded doing too many calls in a row. With that upbeat, dynamic inflection that they made us use to keep everything intelligible, it was very physical. So after a few months, it was just me. A new automation strategy was announced, and this place was rechristened. Consolidated Auxiliary Switch number 30. If it's automated, what do you do here? It's not fully automated. There are still gaps in functionality that need a human touch. And, it really is all about touch here. Sound is a vibration, a touch you feel in your ear. So my voice is my touch. When we're talking, we're touching even on the phone. That's an electric touch. An intimate little shock that makes your tiny hairs tremble. But that's not even what I mean when I say it's all about touch here. When the power company first tried automating this old exchange with fancy new transistor arrays, the switchboard caught fire. It was just too much, too fast, so they tried using some clunky old mechanical relays, but then the calls were getting mismatched and out of sync. It was a nightmare. Their technicians determined that the phone system down here had been designed ad hoc over decades around the specific tempo of its human operators, so short of replacing the whole thing, not to mention all the wiring, they'd have to work out the exact timing of every little human gesture that goes into routing a phone call. And that officially is my role here. I run the switchboard for the whole exchange. Once the work of 12, I'd like to remind you, they have some kind of machine somewhere that tracks how long it takes me to do each little thing. The caller never hears my voice now. They dial, my little indicator light switches on, and I make the connection. Do you miss talking to the callers you know? There's something that bothers me about the process, besides the fact that I'm training my replacement who isn't even human. Here's what I mean. How long do you think it should take to time my every move and react to the timing in an automated switchboard? Rough estimate. At least a month. That's what I said, but this has been going on for over a year, and a very dark thought has started to nag at me. What if there is no cheap machine that's going to replace me? What if it's cheaper just to keep me here, filling in for the rhythm of the operators? What if I'm the cheap machine? Why don't you just quit? In this economy? No, you're probably right. Working in silence for peanut shells, waiting to be replaced by a robot, it doesn't sound very dignified, does it? The reality is that I've been working here for my whole adult life. I came here as a girl and I'll leave as a middle-aged woman. I don't know if I'm ready to be her yet. I sound like Dashiell. Oh, the parcel, right, over there by the lamp is fine. Thanks for dropping that off. Take care. Think of me when you dial 0. Blue, what are you doing, bud? I'm not sure what's happening. Anything? What? Oh, okay. She returned on the dinghy alone. She had a strong and sudden urge to shut the motor off and let the current take her, but she couldn't. Oh. She couldn't work out where the impulse came from, so she did her best to resist it. So, I think we lost Conway. Hopefully she, took old Blue with her. She met a guitar player pedaling a floating bicycle with his dog in tow. He said they took turns. The water was cold and the floating bicycle, while technically marvelous, wasn't quite buoyant enough for the both of them. Swimming is hard work. The hardest work that dog had ever done, he expected. They'd been traveling this way for most of the night, struggling through the icy water, stopping to recover when they could find a rock large enough to start a small campfire. He had his belongings stuffed into a weathered guitar case at the end of a thin rope. It floated pretty well, so he only had to keep an eye on it and occasionally free it from a rock or some driftwood it was caught on. She invited him to ride away on the dinghy. He appreciated the offer, but they weren't in a hurry. She met a family of 5 on a flat-bottomed skiff. The boat was loaded to capacity with black plastic bags and a few larger pieces of furniture wrapped in a blue tarp. 3 paddled, the 2 adults and the older child. The 2 younger children slept. They had been traveling all night, first by car and then for the last few hours by boat. Hungry and tired, they didn't plan to stop until they reached West Virginia, where a relative had offered to take them in. But the adults were happy to take a break from paddling in weary silence. They asked her about her river journey. She said she was on her way to Sam and Ida's. They brought some food. The kids had picked the garden clean earlier in the day, so they'd been snacking on fresh bell peppers and tomatoes and some crackers, rationed carefully for the trip. They wished her well and paddled on toward West Virginia. She met a flower salesman on a raft. They floated alongside in buoyant pots, bobbing untethered. He corralled them with a long pole and a stream of small adjustments. She leaned out over the water to get a closer look. He'd just started work for the day, so his stock was full. He pushed a few bouquets her way. First was a simple mass of white petaled flowers of many different types. She thought it looked wistful, and he agreed. Next, a haunting bundle of dead nettles arranged in the Roman style. He was feeling distracted when he first designed it, but some customers found it joyful. Finally, a simple mixture of dandelions made to look natural. He suggested it would make an appropriate secret admirer bouquet. He drifted away with the currents, pushing his flowers along with the raft. She gave in, shut off the motor, and floated for a while. Then she knew what she'd been craving, a moment of silence. Alright, we just got to Sam and Ida's restaurant. I'm going to leave it off here. We'll wrap up the rest of Act 4 in the next episode. And yeah, so hopefully we get to find out a little bit more about what happened to Conway. I don't know if we'll somehow be able to get him back. But if you're as curious as I am, like and subscribe, ring the bell, get the notifications. That way you can be here when we find out what exactly is going on. And until next time, Bush Wookie out.